Now, I already know what the fuck you're gonna say. Pizza crust? What is this? This isn't Pizza Tower, goddammit. Are you trying to fucking scam me? How dare you go out your way to make something that isn't entirely Pizza Tower related, you fucking monster? I don't care that this is all probably on purpose because you're a clone of Cybertruck or whatever. I just want my damn Pizza Tower videos. First of all, calm the fuck down. As the main guy behind these very impressively made videos, I have the right to make whatever the hell I want. And honestly, I can't deny that it's legitimately hard to find actual proper topics to focus on. I've only made 5 videos on the channel and I'm already out of ideas. Brief description on the game's origins and the unused content will have to wait for the bonus video. And God knows when the new Patreon demo is finally coming out. So don't be fucking shocked if I all of a sudden start making videos that only have slight references to this exact main topic. And second, this is still technically somewhat related to Pizza Tower, but only because it so happens to be another game that Mr. Sauceman composed for. Now, if you don't know who Sauceman is for some ungodly reason, he's one of the main composers for Pizza Tower besides Frostix. And while the whole OST is an absolute banger, his work can only be described as the good shit. As much as I love Frostix, in comparison, Sauceman is just merely unstoppable, with him responsible for creating some of the best music in the entire game. Besides that, he has also worked on some music from Kings of Hell, an indie game I literally know nothing about, but either way, that's pretty neat. He also does post original songs and remixes to his SoundCloud channel, which as expected are marvelous. And speaking of, you bet your ass that I'll be doing a video on Dusterizer as soon as more information comes out about it. Teaser alone gives me some real Total Distortion vibes, and just because of that, it gets some mad respect from me. Honestly, if you haven't played or heard of that game, and I'm sorry, but you'll forever be seen in my eyes as an absolute lunatic. But yeah, he's one of the main composers for this game, making 3 tracks in total, and all of them are wonderful. Don't have anything else to say other than that, so I might as well just start talking about the game now. One way I personally like to describe Unitres is of it being your basic fast-paced platformer with involvements from other games and properties. Character designs overall have a very Sega-ish feel to them, such as with most of the limbs being detached, replaced with cartoony black sticks instead. Just the concepts and color palettes resonate with something like Unitres Dreams and Sonic more than anything else. The game's levels, while not designed the same way, also share a lot of Sonic-like qualities, all of which are of them being 3 to 4 minutes long, spreading into 2 separate acts, or in this case sections, with their own music and gimmicks usually ending with a boss fight. There's even some similarities to bullet hell games seen in the gameplay, going from most enemies covering every square inch of every room with them spewing large amounts of shit everywhere, to some level mechanics and boss fights feeling very much like this genre. Even the majority of the enemy designs are no exceptions, representing them accurately as abstract freaks of nature usually seen in most Japanese arcade shooters. Anyone here remembers Touhou? Don Patchy? And what about Sexy Parodius? The game is a tanuki with a giant ball sack in it. But of all this, the game's main standout feature is obviously its gorgeous sprite work. Honestly, I'd like to believe that I don't even have to tell you why the game looks so good. One glance at that title screen basically says it all. Strangely, out of all things it reminds me of is the sprite work seen in most Sonic ROM hacks made by Vada Pega. In fact, I was so sure that these two properties were made by the same people that I looked up if the creator of Unitres Unlimited Trees was involved with any of these hacks, and surprise surprise, they weren't. So I wrote it off as just me being straight up wrong. I mean, thinking about a lot of Sonic ROM hacks shared a similar art style anyway, so it's not like it really is just dedicated to a single person. But then, as I forgot about it, disaster struck. In case for more research, I went to Unlimited Trees' YouTube channel and found out about the Sonic ROM hack called Among the Others, which not only featured this same similar art style, but also remixes of memed upon music, a literal Pepsi can as a playable character, all of these being traits of your run-of-the-mill Vada Pega hack, and at that point I was gonna have an existential crisis, because now I'm even more confused about what the fuck is happening here. As much as all of this somehow lines up, it still doesn't make any lick of sense. And upon closer inspection, I soon realized that Vada's art style doesn't even match with the ones of Trees at all. In fact, it's drastically different. Too different. The only thing that looks anything close to similar is the color choices, I guess, but in my opinion there's another Sonic ROM hack that looks a lot closer called Mr. Cat's 16-Day Challenge, and that hack literally has nothing to do with Unlimited Trees whatsoever. So what gives? Where could I possibly find the specific answers to this? Well, luckily for my ingenious mindset, I went about actually interviewing the creator and easily enough got all the responses as needed. As a matter of fact, they have worked on other games before. being the surprisingly recognizable Pepsi in Sonic 1 and unlimited trees in Sonic 1, none of them having anything to do with Vader or Mr. Cat whatsoever. Also got some bonus information that the game's main inspirations came from Sonic CD, something that I can respect because Sonic CD is fucking rad, alongside some other inspirations from Undertale, Portal 2, and many numerous things that the creator grew up with. So why mention all this? Honestly, I have no clue. Just an effective way to waste your time, and every single one of you watching fell for it. To bring ATO back on topic though, there weren't any reoccurring levels and or environments that made it back into Unitres. That aside from this single secret level with pink and chartreuse colored trees, which by the looks of it seems to represent the main Unlimited Trees logo. The first level to be shown for the game happens to be Brand New World featured in the tech demo. As far as I know, there weren't any level design changes from this to final game, but Trees himself does look slightly different, not being as emotive or lanky as usual. After that then came the next public build which introduced the main campaign, where from the trailer footage I noticed some drastically different backgrounds and some slightly different level design as well, but I'll get more into that later. Then came an update to that build which made appearances for the perfect city level and the playable characters Pink and Blue. Even from now they literally don't have official names, so that's what I'll be calling them from now on. Blue doesn't seem like he has gotten any changes, but Pink got completely redesigned, removing the ugly ass green gloves and a radishy color scheme. Perfect City itself also got a different background, lacking its billboards and innovative designs of its buildings, but level design stayed majorly samey. These builds were all playable at some point, but now it's unfortunately impossible to get access to them. itch.io doesn't have any downloads for any single one, and the links on the YouTube videos seem to have either expired or they just take you to the main game page. Luckily enough, it's no biggie because the most recent build has every bit of unused content from the main campaign placed in the level select in all of its former glory. There really isn't a lot to go through though, so I'll try my damn best to be as in-depth and specific about each and one of these, if at all. First is Dreamscape Distance, and Section 1 as noted before has a totally new background and level design is more conservative of a basic side-scroller. Gone with the place's civilians as well, and the boss doesn't seem to appear at the end, and that's pretty much everything I can say here. In comparison to Section 2 that is, because it's a complete another overhaul. Level layout, background, and foreground are all utterly different. There's a couple new gimmicks here as well in the form of these marble zone-like crushers. These can actually softlock you standing on top of them, leaving you in a small inboxed area, since they're only activational and there's no sense of collision in the small room they're dropped. The little bullet house spaceship whatever it is I noticed has a completely different sprite and is a lot more buggier than usual. Turning in it is really sluggish, there's a slight possibility it could get stuck on walls and the camera doesn't zoom out when you enter the vehicle. There's a certain point in the level where you can jump over the section where it's placed in, reaching an area you're not supposed to be in. There's a wall blocking you to the right, and once you're in it's impossible to get out of. This is especially annoying because all these levels lack any good places for checkpoints, and upon a simple restart I get taken to the beginning of the level. I had to play all these stages at least 54 more times to get a better grasp on getting footage, and just to be sure I never want to do it again unless I'm forced to. Level ends with the normal spaghetti boss, who's in a new arena this time but is still pretty much the same. And once he's beat you don't get taken anywhere, instead get locked in the victory screen, so I'll take that as my cue to move on. Next is Tranquil Trench, having only one section and nothing else to be different besides the level layout, which made itself to be a big ass kick in the balls for me first time playing. Level has this weird obsession with these moving walls that have very questionable collision, with me sometimes dying randomly to completely nothing while bumping into certain walls. There doesn't seem to be anything waiting at the end, but from the trailer footage I saw that at one point it showed off this skeleton-like boss placed in this exact same area, so I guess it's just somewhat difficult to implement back even if it would have been a nice addition. Less is subconscious scenery, and already there's some changes in the level layout and the inclusion of a clearly less inspired background. All two sections of this level are fully playable again, and both are equally new and hard as hell. Both also take advantage of this new portal mechanic, which does explain the game's portal inspirations. The sprite for it I think is used in the final game in one form, but only as a visual in a cutscene during the end of the Vanished Dreams sequence. I didn't actually plan on finishing this level, so I have literally no idea what lies on the end. From some early content I saw it just straight up takes you to the final boss, so that's gonna be my conclusion for it. Now that I'm done with that, might as well look at all the other shit that's in here. There exist 7 variants of levels based on the game's tutorial stage, but with different color schemes, all being considerably short designs in use of the game's many level assets, and some barely having any design at all. Guessing that these were only used to test out different props and mechanics, or at least different background visuals that the creator had access to. There's another one of these, but it's a lot more complex than the rest. It uses Perfect City's second section's background for some reason. Then again, this could also be an early layout for Perfect City since it has the same start of and is planned more like an actual level, but either one is a available option. Following level is called Mystic Garden, and thankfully it's at least rather functional. This was actually an addition to the game's Sage build that was worked on by a few other people, one of them being Laperdev, who's the lead and only developer for the Sonic Studio project. Level itself is also very Sonic-y in terms of looks, layout, and even enemies. I mean, come on, take a look at this monkey motherfucker and tell me that's not a goddamn monkey, dude. There's even a slight momentum system present where if you run towards a slope at a high enough speed, it launches you up. And to compensate, there's also springs, bumpers, and these Angel Island-esque rocks that give you health when broken. Level doesn't have a boss nor a second section, but still, the whole thing's pretty fun. Another level here is called Castle Grey, a spooky themed level to be exact. Foreground, new enemies, and level elements are all here, but the background seems to be straight up ripped from Tranquil Trench, which is what the level teleports you to once you beat it. The boss of the level is made clear to be T-Bat, the protagonist of the game with the same name, that's currently still in development at the moment by its creator Teapot. You can actually play as T-Bat through digging around in the extras option in the main menu. Once you click his icon, a sound jingle plays from his game, and boom, here you go, he's a playable character now. His central playstyle, from a glance, differentiates from the other characters that are playable. He can't attack, switch, or parry, and only kills enemies by jumping on them. And his parry is replaced by a red soundwave move that doesn't do anything to bosses or enemies and instead is just used for situational purposes. All his usability is alternatively put into his jump, where he's able to reach unprecedented heights, already surpassing most high aerial characters such as Pink. Not to mention that this move completely destroys bosses with only 3 to 5 separate hits. And this goes along for any boss in the game except the bullet hell boss because you're in a vehicle in that one. To make sure that he wasn't absolutely fucking overpowered, he's unable to gain more than an average amount of health, making doing god knows what be pretty risky. But in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter too much because literally speaking, I haven't died a single time when playing as him because of all his other properties. Other cameos can usually be found standing around as NPCs with text boxes like Spark the Electric Gesture, Misfortune, and a bunch of other smaller people and creators I don't know. Even the god himself, Sauce Man, gets a cameo in the form of a boss fight. And need I also mention fucking Looney Dude? Okay, I won't doubt if you have literally no idea who Looney Dude is, but there is a slight chance that you might be familiar with some of his work, as he's the acclaimed mastermind behind the Sunky.mpeg games, flash parodies of the shitty Sonic.exe creepypasta that then later on became their own thing while still being a parody. His boss is by far one of my favorites, though a bit easy. But that's not really saying anything to begin with, because almost every boss in Unitres is easy as hell besides the final boss to some degree. And that's pretty much it for all the side shit I could mention. I was originally going to include a section where I point out most of the game's bugs, since in my initial playthrough I encountered some game-breaking stuff with a lot of level mechanics straight up not working. To make sure I wouldn't be speaking out of my ass here, I checked if this was the case on another slower computer of mine, and every single one of my problems was essentially gone there, and I was able to finish some levels that I originally couldn't before. There are still some glitches intact, like this water slide putting you into out of bounds, the characters getting soft lock when quickly parrying after a switch, and the enemy sprites still sometimes being visible even after they blow up. But other than that, the game's still free from a lot of major bugs, and I won't hesitate that the ones I just mentioned will probably get patched out very soon. Now, I know that I'll most likely be speaking in utmost uncertainty here, but I think the reason for why this is happening is because the game can't handle being ran on a fast computer. Ever since the game's slight change of speed, the creator noted that some if not most level gimmicks became totally broken and unusable. So in the case of it running on faster hardware, it puts these mechanics on literal crack and makes them accelerate to a percentage that they're not used to. So basically, if you own a very fast computer, you might have problems playing the game all the way through. But again, I'm not really sure. This is the one point where I'll actually encourage people to prove me wrong for once. Because it's either this or Lenovo consists of a bunch of bastards who only pretend to be good, but in reality just want to make money through their countless fucking pop-ups. But yeah, aside from all the Sauceman shit, this is the real reason I wanted to make this video. The game's good. Honestly, I always like to give spotlight to smaller games and projects. In fact, that's sort of why I made this entire channel to begin with. That's right, all of this is just a giant corporate scheme to get more people playing Pizza Tower and or this game. Better donate all your life savings to the Pizza Tower Patreon, or else I swear to God I won't stop complaining about the shoulder dash on Twitter until the day I die. Now, even though I've been talking about Sauceman through this entire video, I'd like to give shoutouts to the other people working on the soundtrack, because in honesty, their awesome work and all odds needs more attention. Guys like Megabaz and Bailey CW are especially just criminally underrated, so if you're gonna do something after watching this video, please let it be at least checking out their work.